You're listening to Hawk Talk with former Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus. Powered by Seahawks.com. Now, here's your host, Nasser Kyobe.
Welcome into another edition of Hawk Talk. The Seahawks getting ready to travel across the country to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael Bumpus, you lose week one. It's week two. We forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday. We move forward.
Flush it.
Once you get to Wednesday, you flip the week. Thursday, now we're getting ready for this game. So I'm excited, Bump. I think there's a lot of cool things the Seahawks have going that we talked about in the recap pod of where this team can go, what they can get on track. Get to 1-0, because that's what we look for every week. And we're going to jump right into it. Waste no more time, because those Pittsburgh Steelers are what's on tap.
What's on tap?
1-0, tied for first place in the AFC North, Bump. They had a...
Who else won 0? Bengals won, right?
Yes, in a really ugly game.
That was weird against Cleveland?
The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, okay.
So they're tied. So,
right.
But the Steelers and the Jets it was a football game.
It was.
I was not expected to see that. It was honestly kind of a revenge game for both quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers going back to play New York. Justin Fields obviously playing his former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rodgers made his infamous return to MetLife Stadium, and he turned back the clock.
He sure did.
I didn't think Rodgers was done by any means, but I didn't expect him to look as good as he did. Threw all 4 touchdown passes in the second half, including 2 in a span of 50 seconds, helping the Steelers pull out a 34-32 victory. Rodgers said after the game, "I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets." Rodgers said when asked if he was pleased to beat Glenn, he said, "I gave as much as I could to that team. I didn't have any hard feelings about it not working out. It didn't maybe appreciate the way it went down in the end, but that's in the past. But, man, I was happy to beat everyone associated with the Jets."
He talk about your mom who likes the Jets, your grandma, anybody you like the Jets, he's done with you. But the game started off with 5 straight scoring drives on 7 of 9 in the first half possessions. That means they were lighting up the scoreboard. That was fun to watch. We're doing the pregame show, and I'm looking behind me, and every time I look, Breece Hall's going crazy or there's a score going on. So it was exciting. In the third quarter, the Jets jumped out to a 26-17 lead. Rodgers and the Steelers responded with a 9-play, 68-yard drive, ending with a touchdown to Jaylen Warren. Got the run game going there.
Yeah, no, Jaylen Warren, we're going to talk about him a lot because they've completely changed their running back room, and Warren, he's a really cool story, so I like what we saw from him. But, man, that game got into it afterwards. Justin Fields, he came down with a 12-play, 67-yard drive, capping out with a 1-yard touchdown. He made the score 32-31. Back-to-back punts. The Steelers would take the lead for good with a Chris Boswell 60-yard field goal.
Dang.
60 yards. And I love what Tomlin said after the game. He said, "Man, I can't say enough about the Boz. Our kicker is a serial killer." In the nicest way possible.
Yeah, if you can do that.
Yeah, I guess. No, I'll take it as compliment. Tomlin calls me a serial killer. I'll take it. Rodgers finished the day 22 of 30, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Former Seahawk DK Metcalf, who we will also talk about, led the Steelers with 4 receptions and 83 yards. Justin Fields, 16 of 22, 218, 1 touchdown, and Breece Hall ran for over 100 yards. And Garrett had the 1 touchdown on 95 yards and 7 receptions.
Yeah, it was nice to see DK. Watch the film on this guy, and he's getting that yard after the catch. It threw a screen to him. He turns it upfield for 25, a little hitch to him, turns it outside for another 30. He looks good in that offense, and I think the way they approached the DK experiment was good too. Dropped his first pass going across the middle, but you gotta stay with DK because he's gonna make big plays. So good for them, good for DK. But now it's time to get active.
Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about DK as well. That matchup's gonna be really fun because our guys have played a lot of football against DK over the year, so it's going to be fun. Looking at the head-to-head matchup, me and you are going to talk about this a lot. It's really hard to glean a ton from the head-to-head matchup this early on in the season just for one game, but we'll take a look anyway. Offensively, the Seahawks came in at 29th through 1 week at 230 yards in their first game, 84 yards rushing. That was 20th. Pass offense, 146 yards. That's 25th. And points per game, 13, tied for 24th. Obviously, not the numbers you're hoping to see. That'll happen when you score 13 points. On the flip side, the Steelers, 21st in total offense with 271 yards. 29th in rushing, only 53 yards against those Jets. 218 yards passing, that's 11th in the NFL, and 34 points, that was 3rd in the NFL. Obviously, Steelers scored more points, had more possessions, had more plays in that first game. This is not indicative. I mentioned it. We're just going through the numbers as they were in that first game, but I expect every single one of those numbers for the Seahawks to take a little uptick.
Yeah, take a little bump. Let's talk about the defense of total yards given up. The Hawks were 25th, gave up 384 yards against the 49ers. Rush defense, 119 yards given up. That puts them at 21st. Pass defense, 265 given up. That gives them the spot of 26. On the other side, you got the Steelers. They're 27th when it comes to total offense, 28th against the rush, and 20th against the pass, and 28th when it comes to giving up points. 32 points will do that to you. Hawks had an interception, 2 interceptions. Steelers had none. Hawks had, one sack, and the Steelers had 1 as well.
Yeah, no, Julian Love got that sack off a blitz. Almost, I mean, obviously 1 sack is what it was, but the Seahawks pressured Brock Purdy more than he's ever had in his career, 57% of the time. So the Seahawks front seven was getting home. Now they just got to get the sacks. They got the pressure. I believe Trent Williams gave up the most pressure he's allowed as a 49er, which is a lot because I said he's one of the best in the league. So Seahawks are doing it up front. We'll see if they can make change in those sack numbers. But the Seahawks have played the Steelers a couple times over the last few years. Let's know the history.
Know your history.
Steelers lead the all-time series 11-10 and are 1-0 in the postseason. Obviously, we won't talk about that nonsense. Last time these two matched up, though, it was a rough day for the office of the Seahawks. That was Week 17, if you remember, in the 2023 season.
Yep.
At the time, the Seahawks were in control of their own destiny, but needed to win their last 2 games to get into the playoffs. But if you remember, Bump, that was the time the Seahawks were really struggling stopping the run. They allowed 202 yards on the ground, gave up 468 yards of total offense. And that year, that was the 6th straight opponent who ran for at least 135 yards. It was tough. Najee Harris, 127 yards on 27 carries, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Warren, who we'll see, had 75 yards on 13 carries and 1 touchdown. DK Metcalf led the way with 106 yards on 5 receptions. It was a bad day. But thankfully, that feels like such a distant memory with the guys on this football team. And I would be willing to bet my house and my mortgage that the Seahawks will not give up 202 yards on the ground and 468 yards total offense. I feel that confident about it.
Hey, text wifey now. Let her know what you just did. All right?
Oh, yeah. I think I got to sign for that.
I got to sign.
No, but that was the history. That was, like I said, a tough day against the Steelers. The last 2 games have been rough ones. Back in 21, if you remember, Sunday Night Football, last time we were in Pittsburgh, went to overtime. TJ Watt won that game on a strip sack. So obviously, hoping the Seahawks can turn back the clock to a little better time down there in Pittsburgh. But let's check in on the rest of the NFC West. What's the word?
Where my soldiers at? West side! Where my soldiers at? West side!
And the Seahawks are the NFC West champs again.
What's the word in the West on Hawk Talk?
What's the word? Hawks at the bottom of the division, but it's only 1 week, all right? Niners won, obviously. Cardinals won, and the Rams won. The season obviously just started, and the standings mean nothing after week 1. But that being said, it was about as bad as a week as there can be. The Hawks lost a game within the division to the Niners, and then the Cardinals and Rams were also winners. Let's talk about the Texans and the Rams. Low-scoring game, this one, Nas. The game was a low-scoring battle. That was ugly at times with the scoring happening with Davis Allen touchdown with 12:28 left in the third quarter. That made the score 14-9. The rest of the game possessions would go as follows. Interception, punt, 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 fumble, fumble. Not an exciting game if you're looking for scores there, Nas.
No, I mean, when the last score in the game is with 12:28 left in the third quarter, that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm a former defensive guy. I like defense. So, but to a point, right? But C.J. Stroud, it was a close game, though. A game on the line. He went 8 plays, 57 yards, gets them right there up on the doorstep of the red zone. But unfortunately, Dyer Ungabawale fumbled the football. Nate Landman punched it out, securing the victory for the Rams. Matthew Stafford, he encouraged his Hall of Fame resume, honestly.
Yep.
Joining the 60,000 yards passing club, finished the day 21-29, 245 yards in 1 touchdown. 10th person only to reach 60,000 yards. That's pretty cool. We've talked about this a lot, about Matthew Stafford back and forth. Is he a Hall of Famer? Is he not? I think we both kind of lean towards yes, given the Super Bowl that he won, but increasing that resume. Kyron Williams on the ground. He had 66 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown. And Puka Nacua.
Puka went crazy.
Woo! 10 receptions, 130 yards. But did you see him come back to the game after he got his helmet knocked off? He had that big gash in his head.
I didn't see that.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no, he was a savage for that. Came right back. He had blood running all down, got stitches, came back, and still got after the Houston Texans. On the flip side, CJ Stroud, 19-27, 188, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. The Rams taking on the Titans on Sunday.
Yeah, the next matchup, you have the Cardinals at the Saints. The Cardinals went down to New Orleans and held on for a close 20-13 win and ruined the debut of new Saints head coach Kellen Moore. You know it's going to be tough for the Saints, man. Kellen Moore, God bless your heart. Get those guys right.
Froster tosser.
Hey,
right there, man. He was doing his thing.
Down by a touchdown, the Saints got the ball back with 1:49 left in the game. Spencer Rattler led them down the field to the Cardinals' 24-yard line, but after 4 incomplete passes, the Cardinals turned the ball over on downs, and that was the end of the game. The Saints tight end, Juwan Johnson, had both hands on a potential tying catch at the goal line in the final seconds, but safeties Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson knocked that thing out. That was a beautifully placed ball, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He put it right where only his guy can get it. Gave himself an opportunity, couldn't get it done. That's a tough one. Kyler Murray finished the day 21-29 for 163 and 2 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Spencer was 27 for 46, 214, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and Kamara had 57 total yards and 1 touchdown. The Cardinals host the Panthers next week, and the Saints host the 49ers.
So the Cardinals, great road win, right?
Yeah.
We'll call it like what it was. But the Saints had every opportunity. I actually thought Spencer Rattler played okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot of people have made their feelings known about Spencer Rattler just from his Netflix show 10 years ago.
Wasn't a good look.
And I think he's still paying for that, unfortunately. Yeah. But no, he played well. The Cardinals, they get a road victory. And it'll be interesting to see about the 49ers. Obviously, we know what happened in their game against the Seahawks, but they're banged up,
Banged up.
Purdy looks like he's out for a couple of weeks. Jennings is dealing with some stuff. Kittle on the IR. And again, I think when you look at that game, obviously you're not hoping for injuries. But I think when you look at it, you're saying this is a physical football team. Right. The 49ers came out of there with a victory, but limping around after the game and just showing that, like, between both those teams, that's a physical matchup. That's how those games are played, and that's kind of the toll you playing in the NFC West. But we will turn our attention back to those Steelers. Man up.
Hey, who you got?
Who you got? You know what time it is. Man up.
Man up, brother.
Man up.
Man up on Hawk Talk.
Like we always do, we start with the quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, who we briefly talked about, geeking on the Seahawks defense. From 2005 to 2022, Aaron Rodgers put together a Hall of Fame career with the Packers. There's no doubt about that. He made the Pro Bowl 10 times, 4-time MVP, 4-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP. His stats, he's thrown for just with the Packers, 5,001 for 7,660, 59,055 yards, 475 touchdowns, 105 interceptions, and a record of 147, 75, and 1 in the regular season. So that's a Hall of Fame career resume right there.
Seeing that on paper is kind of crazy.
Yes.
That's kind of crazy.
However you feel about him personally, he is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
For sure.
But obviously, since he's left Green Bay, it has not always been greener on the other side. He's definitely struggled. 4 snaps into the 2023 season, blew his Achilles. Done. Whole year, everything Jets leading up to that, 2023 is gone. Came back last season. When you look at the numbers, they're not as bad as you would think, given the team was 5-12. He was 368 for 584, 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but was sacked 40 different times. His Steelers debut, we mentioned, he turned back the clock, going 22 of 30, 244, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It shows like he's got some left in the tank. It's going to be a tough challenge for the Seahawks, but the Jets were able to sack Rodgers 4 times, so I'm hoping the Seahawks can build off of that. I mentioned it earlier, the Seahawks defense got after Brock Purdy, pressuring him 57% of the time. That was the most he had ever been pressured. And so I'm looking forward. I'm optimistic to what the Seahawks can do to bring pressure against Aaron Rodgers, because you're going to need to, because if you give him time back there in the pocket, he can dice you up and make you look bad. And honestly, the snap count's another thing, man. He's the best in the game at drawing people offside. So Aaron Rodgers can still play, and he will definitely be a challenge for these Seahawks.
Yeah, man. He can still throw that thing. He can work from the pocket. He's got good eyes. He knows the game. So get after him, create some pressure. Let's talk about our quarterback, Sam Darnold, against the Steelers defense. Sam Darnold made his much-anticipated debut for the Seahawks versus the 49ers. He was an efficient 16-23, that's 69%, for 150 and a QB rating of 87.2. He did not throw any touchdowns, but he also took care of the football. Head coach Mike McDonald said this about Sam Darnold's performance. I thought he played fast. I thought he played decisive, took care of the ball. He put us in a lot of great positions, but unfortunately, let's go close it out. We was talking about that fumble at the end of the game where he got some pressure, was looking for K9 in the flat, just not able to do it. The Seahawks only ran 50 plays against the 49ers and were 3 of 10 on third downs. That's not going to get her done. 3 of 10 on third downs. You got to be able to keep these drives going. They were not able to do it. So it'll be interesting to see what Sam Darnold does against these guys when he gets more opportunity, more plays, and just be this decisive guy that we saw last week, and he should be okay.
Yeah, I think if you don't come up in third and long situations, staying on the field, it's a lot. How do you improve third down? You're better in first and second down. I think that's the main thing. Last year, the Steelers were 12th in total defense, 25th against the pass. Last week against the Jets, they allowed 394 yards, 212 through the air. Now, I mentioned Jaylen Warren, who the Steelers have a complete remake of their running back room. Warren has been on the team. This is going to his 4th season, but the Steelers did say goodbye to Najee Harris, who was a former first-round pick at Alabama, their starting running back. He had 4 straight seasons with 1,000 yards for them, so he was incredibly productive. But the Steelers decided they were going to commit to Warren, and who signed a 2-year extension with the team coming out of training camp. Really cool thing. I played small college football, so I always love different stories. And where Warren has come from, to go from junior college in Utah, where he was the NJCAA National Offensive Player of the Year. Then he transfers to Utah State, where he played for 2 seasons before transferring to Oklahoma State, where he had 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns as a 5th-year senior. Signs with the Steelers as an undrafted free agent, and then now obviously here is getting an extension and is the guy in Pittsburgh. So definitely a cool story. You root for him there. But he's a good football player, Bump. He is someone that the Seahawks are definitely going to need to contain. I think defensively the Seahawks did a good job against probably one of the best running backs in the league last week with Christian McCaffrey. He had some plays, obviously with McCaffrey's tough because he's receiving and running the football, so he's kind of a total package in terms of trying to stop him. But Warren is a guy that, given what the Seahawks did against McCaffrey and the Niners holding him at 3.6 yards per carry, I'm hoping that that can continue this week because he's a good football player.
He's a big boy, man, that Warren. Warren is a big running back. So wrap him up, get him down to the ground. Let's talk about our running backs. The running game was going to be an emphasis for the squad this year. But the Hawks rushed for 84 yards on 26 carries. You wanted to see more out of that, but it's all good. They can improve. But there was some balance to the game as well. Charbonnet had 12 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown. Walker had 10 carries for 20 yards. You expect these guys to perform a bit better. I think once they get the flow of this offensive linemen play a little better, combined with the vision, they should be okay. In 2024, Walker rushed for 153 carries, 573 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He did miss a few games. Charbonnet had 135 carries for 569 and 8 touchdowns. So I'm hoping the Seahawks will really find their run game against the Steelers. They struggled a bunch against the Jets last week. They allowed 182 rushing yards on 39 carries, giving up 4.7 per carry. Breece Hall had 107 yards on 19 carries. We're hoping Walker and Charbonnet have similar success.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of yards. And you wouldn't think that because I think we were talking about this. I think this was on the Insiders podcast earlier. But when you think Steelers, you associate them with defense. Yeah. Mike Tomlin, you think defense. When you think Steelers, you don't think 182 yards on the ground.
Nah.
And I think this could be a perfect storm for the Seahawks to get their run game on track because we know that's what Clint Kubiak wants to do. We know what this team wants to do, and they're built for it. This is just, they're close, right? And I think this might be a good opportunity for the Seahawks to get that done this week. And we got to talk about an old friend.
An old friend,
DK Metcalf. For the past 6 seasons, when we're talking about DK Metcalf, if his name was on one of our sheets, it's because it was notes about where he ranked in the Seahawks history, usually the fastest to whatever you want to call it. He's essentially, up there in the record books, only behind Steve Largent and Tyler Lockett is the fastest to do anything in a Seahawks uniform. He still holds a single season record for receiving yards at 1,303 yards, which he set back in 2020. I think Jason is going to break that this year, Bump. So that's a hot take.
Come on.
We can check the tape later in the year if I'm right on that. If I'm not, we'll just ignore it and pretend like he never said it. But Metcalf, you can't deny his success in Seattle. 438 receptions, 6,324 yards, 48 touchdowns, also a 2-time Pro Bowler. I think one year he was also second-team All-Pro. And now Metcalf's got another dude throwing the ball. Aaron Rodgers in his debut, 4 receptions for 83 yards. And just hearing stuff coming out of Pittsburgh, he's going to try to treat this like any other game.
Of course he is.
That's what you got.
What else is he going to say?
What you got to say? It's hard. Of course it's going to be hard. There's emotions in the game.
Right.
This organization took a chance on DK Metcalf. some people thought that was a reach in the second round. And obviously DK proved how good of a football player he was and how much he meant to this organization over the years. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. And then lining up alongside DK is Calvin Austin, the third season out of Memphis, former 4th-round pick. He's coming off his best season. Last year, we had 36 receptions, 548 yards, and 4 touchdowns. 5'9", 162 pounds, but he's explosive, and he's a home run threat every time he touches the football. He's dangerous in the slot. They'll move him around, and he's a really good football player as well.
Yeah, man, they got some options over there. And what they do is they hit these guys underneath. They're not throwing the football down the field very far. They're getting DK the ball quickly. Talk about Calvin Austin. They're getting him the ball quickly. So they got some options over there. And Arthur Smith is doing a good job designing this offense to fit Aaron Rodgers. Or honestly, Aaron Rodgers just fitting into the design of Arthur Smith's offense. So, yeah, man, they got some options. And guys like Reek, Spoon, Love, Kobe, they practice against DK. So they know some of his habits. They can pick up on some telltale signs and hopefully help these guys out. So we'll see how that matchup goes. Let's talk about JSN, Cooper Kupp against Ramsey, Darius Slay, and Joey Porter Jr., the second Porter to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. JSN has continued to establish himself as the number one guy in Seattle when it comes to that receiver room. And he had a good game against the 49ers, 9 receptions for 124 yards on 13 targets. That was his 4th 100-yard game. It feels like he's had more than just 4 of them things. Yeah. But you know what? You're the stat guy. Stats don't lie. It was his 4th one. His 124 yards were 3rd most in the NFL through week 1. In fact, according to NFL Next Gen Stats, Smith and Jigba accounted for 91% of the Seahawks' air yards in a game, the 6th highest air yard share by a receiver in a game since at least 2016. So what you're saying is whenever the ball was thrown and there was a completion and there was some yards, it was probably from JSN.
Yeah, no, I mean, Coach McDonald said it can't be the Jack show.
Right.
We want to spread that along. But that being said, he's performing for a reason. And Coach also said those were the right plays to make. Sam, It's not like Sam was forcing him in there. JSN was open and he got him the football.
Yep. And now we need Cooper Kupp, right? He didn't have a real productive day. He was on the field 46 snaps. That's 88% of the snaps, but was only targeted 3 times. He drew a pass interference, but only had 2 receptions for 15 yards. So, there's a reason why that happens sometimes. And like you mentioned, you got your quarterback who's just going through his reads. And if you're open, you're open. And receivers, we depend on a lot to get the football, right? The quarterback first, snap the football. Right. O-line protects. Right. Quarterback drops the right coverage for your route. You go through your progression. Then you get the football. So I feel his pain because I've been a receiver who's ran 50, 60 routes and then touched that ball 1 time. So Cooper Kupp, you hang in there, man. You hang in there. But they're going up against one of the best DBs of the last generation in Jalen Ramsey. Yeah,
Ramsey, I mean, I don't think he's a player he was necessarily in Jacksonville or when the Rams won a Super Bowl, but he can still play. Yeah. I think that was evident on the last play against the Jets where he kind of broke up that play with Garrett Wilson there to kind of seal the deal with essentially a game-winning pass breakup. But Ramsey's a dog. His resume speaks for itself. 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro. His last Pro Bowl season was in 2023. Last year, he had 60 tackles, 11 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, 6 TFLs, and 4 QB hits. So he's still productive. Yeah. No question about it. Then you got Darius Slay. I mean, this is a veteran secondary.
Sure is.
Got to be the most veteran secondary in the National Football League. Darius Slay adds 13 NFL seasons, and he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, Super Bowl champion in Philly. He spent his first 7 years in Detroit and the last 5 years in Philly before coming to Pittsburgh. 2024, he had 49 tackles, 13 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 TFLs.
And then you got the youngster, Joey Porter Jr., the son of longtime Steeler linebacker Joey Porter. Porter was a starter from day 1. He was the first pick of the 2nd round in 2023. And he's day-to-day with a hamstring injury. So we'll see how that works out for him. But his career stats, 114 tackles, 2 interceptions, 17 passes defended, and 3 TFLs. If Porter plays, this is a really talented group.
Yeah, it's a matchup still that I would lean on our guys just from where JSN's at and Cooper Kupp. We want to talk about veteran experience getting stuff done. But this is one of those matchups. I feel like for years it's funny that they're on the same team. I would love to see what Steelers practices have been like. Because for years when we would talk about Seahawks and Rams, who were we talking about? We were talking about DK and Jalen Ramsey and saying, like, hey, get your popcorn ready because you know those two are John and having a conversation. So that should be fun how those go. And then our last matchup bump, we want to flip it over to TJ Watt. I think people are pretty familiar with that name.
Mm-hmm.
He's been one of the best players in the NFL for a long time. Broke out of his brother's shadow a long time ago because he's going to be a Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah.
7 consecutive Pro Bowls, 4-time first-team All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year 2021, second-team All-Pro in 2024, leads the NFL in sacks since 2017. So he's been doing it for a long time.
Could you imagine what their conversations are like at home? Just at the dinner table, just talking about the greatness that the Watt family has over there. It's dumb, man. And last year, he had 61 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 27 quarterback hits, 4 passes defended, 6 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 19 TFLs. Like Nick Bosa, TJ Watt will be problem number 1 for the Seahawks offensive line on Sunday. You know, I felt like they was going to get a break after Nick Bosa just tore everything up. And then I remembered that Mr. Watt plays on this team as well. It's another challenge, but it's almost a gift that you get Nick Bosa the first week to get you ready.
Right.
Like remind you this is the NFL, and then you go up against Watt week 2.
Yeah, and again, I mean, Nick Bosa, he did make the play at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. If you would have told me going into that game that the Niners only have 1 sack, I would sign up for that any day of the week.
For sure.
And I would sign up for it again on Sunday. If the Steelers have 1 sack throughout the game, that means the offensive line is playing well. They did their job. Last week, TJ had 5 tackles, 2 TFLs, and 1 pass defended. So we'll see how the Seahawks defend him. But to get a victory, to get the first victory of the 2025 season, we'll let you know, path to victory.
At the 45, waits for the snap. Michael Dixon puts it down. That kick is away, and that kick is good! The Seahawks win! It's good!
It's a path to victory on Hawk Talk.
First East Coast trip of the season, the Seahawks have been great in that time slot over the years, 27-11 in their last 38, and have been great on the road under Coach McDonald. Last year, the Seahawks went 7-1, tying a franchise record. So with a win on Sunday, it'll be their 7th consecutive road win, which would also set a franchise record. So the recipe's there. The Seahawks know how to deal with the travel and in these games that are early, 10 a.m. start on Pacific time. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this team going across the country, getting their first win, and really showing, again, another opportunity Mike McDonald could show this team can play a style of football that no one wants to play.
Yep, and on offense, you got to find a way to run the football. The Steelers gave up $182 on the ground last week. Come on. Make them continue to be who they've been or who they were last week and be better on third downs. 3 for 10 on third downs, 50%. That's not going to be enough. You got to sustain these drives. So run the football, be better on third down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to be better on third down, you got to be better on first and second down, which I think these guys are up for the challenge. And Cooper Kupp needs to be more involved. He is one of the best receivers of this generation. 3 targets, probably not enough. And we know how things go. We talked about it, all the different factors of why things happen. But I would really love to see him get involved early and often. And defensively, keep getting after the quarterback. Front 7 looked great last week. Let's just make sure we get home a little bit more.
Get after the quarterback and get off the field on third downs. The Niners were 7-14 last week when it comes to third down conversions, and keep taking the ball away. You had 2 interceptions. You blocked a field goal. You got a gift with a missed field goal. Just keep causing chaos and keep these guys a bit nervous.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to the Seahawks special team unit. I think if any unit came out looking real clean after last week, it was a special team. So shout out Coach Harbaugh and that unit. And the Seahawks showed a lot of good things against 49ers. This is their opportunity to put it all together, go 1-0, get the Seahawks back on track as they come back home to the Saints the following week. Reminder, you can hear us everywhere: YouTube, Seahawks.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Sirius XM. We're really hoping the Seahawks can get it done this week. You can listen to the pregame show on Seattle Sports and Kyra 97.3 and all across the Seahawks radio network. We get started early, Bump, 7 a.m.
baby, let's go.
On Sunday, the Seahawks take on the Steelers from Pittsburgh. He's Michael Bumpus. I'm Nasser Kyobe. This has been Hawk Talk.